what I want to do right now is I want to summarize everything we have done so far with classical versus Keynesian economics by showing you how exactly the economy adjusts. Okay? And I'm going to use my board right here, and we're going to look at macroeconomic adjustments. We're going to bring it home and get a concept of how the sticky prices or flexible prices, classical versus the Keynesian economics, kind of explains what policy should look like. So let's get the macroeconomy visualized on the board. So we got our RGDP, and we got our price level right here. Let's get the aggregate demand in. That's our aggregate demand, that's downward sloping. And let's get our short run aggregate supply. Let's also get our long run, our potential GDP, all coinciding right there. And let's call this our beginning point. Yeah? Now let's say the economy gets a positive shock, meaning aggregate demand is going to increase. Positive shock, aggregate demand increasing, we shift it to the right. Let's call it AB1. Now here is where things are going to get interesting based on the classical versus Keynesian economics. So follow me. We have a new equilibrium. It's right here. I'm going to call it 1. And from that new equilibrium, I want you to see that the price level is now P1. What did it used to be before? It used to be at P0. So what happened to prices because of the positive shock? Prices went up. Remember when we talked about sticky wages and prices? We have the positive shock and prices in the good market went up. Suppose prices were sticky. Would they immediately jump to P1? The answer is no. And if that's the case, if it was sticky, then real GDP would have expanded, sat right here at real GDP 1. That's a positive shock with no changes in price. Okay? So to summarize, sticky prices, you go to RGDP 1, prices, and the positive shocks expands real GDP with the sticky regime. Let's change things up a bit. Because sticky prices and wages was Keynesian economics. Let's talk about what the classical economists and neoclassicals think. They said prices are not sticky, especially in the long run. And over time, prices will eventually adjust. And they're right. Which means this positive shock, okay, once you move from 0 to 1, prices are going to eventually go up to P1. Things are going to get more expensive, okay? And not only that, the labor market itself is going to have to adjust because now things are more expensive and employers are going to be clamoring to get workers. It is the case where because you have this expansion in output and they're clamoring to get workers, wages are actually going to increase. If it's not sticky, wages are going to have to go up. If they are sticky, wages will slowly but kind of stay the same, especially in the short run. Classical say, oh no, wages will eventually go up. Now think about what that means. If wages are higher, let me rephrase that. Think what it means for supply. If a resource price is now more expensive, employers now have to pay more to workers in the classical scenario. That means supply is going to decrease. In fact, it's going to decrease something like this. Let's call it SRAS. Just to keep the numbering. And when that happens, the new equilibrium is at 2. And this is interesting because what the classical economists argue is this positive shock really has no effect on our GDP. So flexible prices. Our GDP the same. And they argue the only thing you do is to cause inflationary pressure in the economy. Prices go up P2. You see the two different school of thoughts? Classical. Okay. I have the Keynesian. That sticky prices and wages really does have an effect. Positive shock, sticky wages and prices, well, we have an expansion in our GDP over time. Classical, the market is going to adjust. Prices are going to be higher and you actually have no effect on our GDP. In fact, classicals argue if you want our GDP to increase, you gotta increase your potential. Which brings us back to their school of thought. Make the environment suitable for production and supply. Versus Keynes, who says demand is what creates supply. I hope using the board to explain this kind of helped a bit. Okay? Until next time when I use my board, see you then. Bye-bye.